So today we are going to discuss a very important topic, and that is anatomy of the ear. An anatomy of the ear is discussed as anatomy of the external ear, anatomy of the middle ear, and anatomy of the internal ear. So let us start discussing with anatomy of the external ear. The external ear is made up of firstly the auricle, which is also called as pinna, and then there is external acoustic meatus. Okay, the pinna is somewhat of this shape, right? And then the main parts of this pinna here, this part is called as tragus. Opposite this is antitragus. So this part is tragus, this part is antitragus. This tubercle here is called as auricular tubercle. Okay, auricular tubercle. This part is called as helix. So this is auricular tubercle, then there is helix. This is called as scaphoid fossa. Okay, this part here is called as Simba conchae. At least you should remember tragus, antitragus, helix. Okay, if this is helix, then this part is called as antihelix, and this lower down part is called as lobule. Okay, the blood supply is from superficial temporal artery, posterior auricular artery. Now, the most important purpose, lymphatic drainage is from the preauricular, postauricular lymph nodes. So you can always remember pre and post auricular lymph nodes. But most important is nerve supply. Nerve supply. So if this is how the pinna is, the lateral surface now we are talking about, the surface which we see. The lateral surface of the pinna, upper to third, is by auriculotemporal nerve, and the lower part is by greater auricular nerve. Auriculotemporal nerve and greater auricular nerve. So this nerve supply of the lobule, which comes as the MCQ, which is asked in exam, is by greater auricular. Now what about the medial surface? Medial surface, that is the inner surface. So this is for the outer surface. Now for the inner surface, what happens is that the upper two third is supplied by the lesser occipital nerve. Lesser occipital nerve. And the lower part is by greater auricular nerve. The lower part, whether it is outer side or inner side, is by greater auricular. Okay. Then next we will be discussing the external acoustic meatus. External acoustic meatus. Okay. Now this external acoustic meatus starts, suppose this is the pinna. This external acoustic meatus starts from the pinna. Okay. Now it has a outer part which is directed medially, backwards, medially, forwards, and upwards. Medially, forward, upward. Then it has a middle part which is directed medially, backwards, and upwards. Then there is the inner part. So all will be directed medially, but medially, forward, and downwards. So if you see, the outer part is directed medially, forward, upward. Middle part is directed medially, backward, upward. Lower part is directed medially, forward, downward. So basically it is S shape. So therefore this S shape is for giving protection to the tympanic membrane which is here. So if we want to view the tympanic membrane, we have to pull the ear like this, then the canal becomes straight and we can see the tympanic. We can have a view of the tympanic membrane. Okay. Now this canal, because this is made up, this pinna is made up of, uh, elastic cartilage, and therefore lateral 1/3 or 8 millimeter of the external acoustic meatus is also made up of elastic cartilage, while the inner 16 millimeters is bony. It is made up of bone. So basically what you see on the skull bone, what you see on the skull bone is the bony part, and the outer 8 millimeters we remove along with the pinna. So when we remove the pinna, this 8 millimeter also gets removed. Just excuse me for a second. Uh, Students, am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now we will talk about this. So the total length is 24 millimeters. Okay. Now in this case, again the blood supply remains same. Superficial temporal artery and posterior auricular artery. Okay. The lymphatic drainage again remains same, pre and post auricular lymph nodes. But most important supply here is nerve supply. The anterior part is by auriculotemporal node. And posterior wall is by auricular branch of vagus. Vagus, which supplies the heart, vagus, which supplies our both the lungs, vagus, which supplies the GIT, also is supplying the auricular branch of giving auricular branch and supplying the external acoustic meatus, and that is where the role of the vagus is very, very, very important. Because now if we want to give a wash, now we are looking from above, this is anterior and this is posterior. So if you are, and this is here is tympanic membrane, and you see that there is lot of wax in the ear, and you want to put hot water always has to be put in a syringe through the anterior wall, and then that water goes like this and gets this wax out. If we put it along the posterior wall, what is going to happen is it will stimulate the vagus, because posterior wall is supplied by the vagus. It will stimulate the vagus, and once it stimulates the vagus, what is going to happen is person can get giddiness, nausea. I'm just talking about the most decent thing. He can get a cardiac arrest also. Okay. So now only the 36 people who are attending this session know about this. Remaining 114 students don't know about this. This is what happens when medical students bunk their classes, and when they are posted in ENT and they are told to give wash to the ear of the patient, they may put it along the posterior wall and patient may suffer from nausea, vomiting, and maybe cardiac arrest also. So never this, but there is an advantage of this also, that whenever uh, a patient, so you must have seen people keeping some irritant cotton along the posterior wall. So what basically they are achieving by doing that is that stimulates the vagus, and this increases the nice gastric juice and gastric acid secretion in the stomach. So that is an advantage also, because it is supplying the stomach. So we put some cotton over here, of course not so inside, along the external ear and posterior wall. This will increase the gastric juice secretion because of stimulation of vagus. So you see some people who are suffering from low, weak digestion, they do this. So that's the applied anatomy. Now inside when we go inside the
Sir,
hello.
हाँ सॉरी सर टू डिस्टर्ब यू
Hmm.
सर ईयरफोन लगाते हैं तो होगा क्या ये स्टिमुलेट?
नहीं, इतना नहीं होगा। इतना
ओके
नहीं होगा, बिकॉज उसमें वो जो कॉटन लगाते हैं ना, उसमें वो इरिटेंट डालते हैं। केवल कॉटन लगाने से भी स्टिमुलेट नहीं होता है।
ओके
Cotton has to be filled with a irritant, and that irritant will stimulate the vagus. Okay.
ओके सर.
Okay. Now when we go a little bit inside, okay, this whole passage, which is of 24 millimeters. So then here now we reach a point where we start seeing the tympanic membrane, and this is how tympanic membrane is. It is concave from the inner side and convex from the outer side. So this is our next topic, that is tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane is one of those few structures which is derived from from ectoderm from the outer side, mesoderm from its middle part, and endoderm also. So all ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm contribute to formation of tympanic membrane. The outer part of the tympanic membrane is actually the skin, is actually made up of skin. Okay. Now this tympanic membrane, when we see, it has two malleolar folds like this, malleolar folds. And so this malleolar folds, they stretch, and also of course here on the inner side of the tympanic membrane, there is the handle of malleus and the head of malleus, and which is pulled by one muscle. We'll discuss this when we talk about the middle ear. Like there is a stapedius muscle for which is attached to stapes. There is tensor tympani muscle, so which is attached to this head of the malleus. So it will pull, and that's how this concavity is maintained. So because of this, the tympanic membrane has a part called as pars tensa, which is the majority part, and this part is called as pars flaccida. Pars flaccida. And importance of the pars flaccida is that the chorda tympani nerve, the chorda tympani nerve will pass through pars flaccida. So whenever we are taking a cut on the tympanic membrane, suppose there is we see lot of pus inside and we want to take a cut so that this pus is drained. It has to be always done in the posterior and inferior part, not in the superior part. Then we may cut the chorda tympani, and once chorda tympani is cut, the salivation will reduce and the person will lose all the taste sensation of, because it supplies the taste sensations for the anterior two-third of the tongue. Now, the tympanic membrane, we say outer part is made up of skin. Then the middle part is made up of fibrous layer.
and the inner side is mucus layer. So this fibrous layer is made up of mesoderm, skin is made up of ectoderm, and this mucus layer is made up of endoderm. So ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, skin, fibrous layer, mucus layer. Okay. Uh, the blood supply. The blood supply of this tympanic membrane is by maxillary artery. So few things about the tympanic membrane which you should know, that tympanic membrane is concave from the outer side, convex from the inner side. It is oval in shape. Its diameter is 9 into it is around 9 into 10 millimeters, and this angle which it makes is 55 degrees. And tympanic membrane of my right side will be somewhat directed like this, downwards, forwards, lateral. That means both my tympanic membranes will be like this, downward, forward, lateral, down. Okay, so my right side tympanic membrane will be like this, left side will be like this. So this is the facing forwards. Okay, downward, forward, lateral, downward, forward, lateral. So blood supply of the outer side is by the deep auricular branch of the maxilla, and on the inner side, the blood supply on the inner side is by anterior tympanic branch of maxillary. Okay, and there is the posterior tympanic branch also, posterior tympanic branch, which is from the stylomastoid branch of the posterior auricular. Need not be tensed about it. Deep auricular and anterior tympanic. The outer side, it is by the deep auricular branch of the maxillary artery, and on the inner side, it is the uh, anterior tympanic branch by maxillary and posterior tympanic branch by stylomastoid branch of maxillary. Now the veins of the tympanic membrane, they venous drainage. They drain outer side into external jugular, and inner side it drains into the transverse sinus. Transverse sinus. The lymphatic drainage, again preauricular and retropharyngeal. Outer side will be into preauricular lymph nodes, and inner side will be into retropharyngeal lymph nodes. Again comes the important thing, that is the nerve supply. Okay. So, and we'll talk about the outer side first. Outer side, the antero-inferior part is by auriculotemporal nerve, and posterior-superior part will be by vagus, the auricular branch. And inner side will be by tympanic plexus or tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. The tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve will supply the inner side of the tympanic membrane. That's how it has derived its name from the tympanic branch. So tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve or the ninth nerve. Okay. So applied anatomy, that uh, whenever we put light, we see a cone of light. Why we see cone of light? Because the tympanic membrane is concave from the outer side. Okay. And when we give a cut on the tympanic membrane, that is called as myringotomy. Myringotomy, that has to be done in the posterior inferior quadrant. Posterior inferior quadrant, because if we do it in the upper part, there is a chance that we may cut the chorda tympani. We may cut the chorda tympani. Thank you. This is regarding the external ear and external acoustic meatus and tympanic. After that, uh, we so this is external pinna. This is external acoustic canal. So this is canal, this is external ear, this is tympanic membrane. Now we reach the middle ear. So middle ear, again upper part with there is steps. Okay, there is this round window and wall window. Lower part, the window is covered by secondary tympanic membrane, and this part is the bone. So now inner here, inside here is the inner ear. So this part is the middle ear. This part is the middle ear. Okay. So now here we can already see the two walls, rather four walls of the middle ear. The middle ear is like a cube. It has a lateral wall, medial wall, roof, floor, and it will also have an anterior part and a posterior part. So it middle ear has 6 surfaces. Middle ear has 6 surfaces. So firstly, let us talk about roof. So roof is formed by tegument tympani. Okay, roof is formed by tegument tympani. It is a small part of the bone which separates it from middle cranial fossa. So just imagine the proximity of, sorry, just imagine the proximity of the uh, just imagine the proximity of the middle ear to the middle cranial fossa. So therefore, whenever uh, after any accident, we see blood coming out of the middle ear. Our main tension is whether there is bleeding in the middle ear and that blood has broken the tegument tympani, come into the middle ear and then has burst the tympanic membrane and is coming out, or whether there is injury here somewhere and because of which the blood is coming out. So we are very happy if there is an injury in the external acoustic meatus or canal and blood is coming out from here. We are really happy. That means there is no bleeding inside the skull. But we are really tense if there is a fracture in the tegument tympani and the blood comes to middle ear and here, because that will destroy the middle ear hearing. And forget about hearing, main tension is in the middle cranial fossa. There are so many important structures, uh, the brain itself, and that's what we are tensed about. So the roof is formed by tegument tympani. Okay. Now in the adults, there is just a vein which transmits from the superior petrosal sinus to the middle ear. While in young children, there is a unossified petrosquamous suture. Okay, and which is in direct contact with the meninges, and that is something which is really tensing. Now the floor. Now floor is just a thin plate of bone which separates it from internal jugular vein. So the internal jugular vein is here. Okay. So and then in the floor there is this close proximation of internal jugular vein. So just a thin plate of bone which separates it from the internal jugular vein. Okay. So roof is tegument tympani, floor is internal jugular vein. Now let us talk about the lateral wall. In this picture itself, you can see the lateral wall. What is forming the lateral wall? The tympanic, the tympanic membrane. Okay. So the tympanic, it's not only tympanic membrane. So there will be some more other structures also along with the tympanic membrane. Okay. So in the lateral wall, what we see is tympanic membrane. Then there is this chorda tympani. So the anterior canaliculus for the chorda tympani. So I normally restrict all the walls to three structures except for roof and floor. Roof is formed by tegment tympani, floor is formed by thin plate of bone separating from the internal jugular vein. Now all other places I would restrict to A, B, C. Okay. So A in the lateral wall will be tympanic membrane. B will be chorda tympani. C will be anterior canaliculus for chorda tympani. Anterior canaliculus for chorda tympani. Posterior canaliculus will come in the posterior wall. So A, B, C, tympanic membrane, chorda tympanic membrane, chorda tympani, anterior canaliculus for chorda tympani. Also there is petro tympanic fissure also. Okay. Now look at the middle wall. Look at the middle wall. And when you look at the middle wall, already we see that here there is an opening. Opening is called as fenestra. This is called as fenestra vestibuli, which is closed by the footplate of stapes. So the malleus will be here, some like this, incus will be here, and the stapes is here. So now let us start writing about the medial wall. So fourth thing is medial wall. And we are going to describe middle here as every wall, anterior, posterior, medial and lateral is A, B, C. So what is ABC in the this thing? So here you can see a bulge. This bulge is called as promontory. This bulge is called as promontory. So when I look at the medial wall, I again see a bulge. This is a bulge. This is not the tympanic membrane. No? This is a bulge I'm showing. So what happens is this cochlea which is seen here, it has many turns. So its basal turn causes the bulge. Okay, so this is promontory. It is formed by the first or basal turn of cochlea. Basal turn of cochlea has formed the promontory. So A. Then what is there here? Fenestra vestibuli. Fenestra vestibuli, which is closed by the footplate of stapes. So this is stapes. So fenestra vestibuli and closed by the footplate of stapes. Lower down here is fenestra cochlea. Fenestra cochleae. See, these are all complicated names. This is also called as round window. This is also called as oval window. Okay, but you should be knowing about fenestra vestibuli, fenestra cochleae. Okay, which is closed by secondary tympanic membrane. Secondary tympanic membrane. Okay, so now three things in the medial wall: oval window, promontory, round window. So oval window is also called as fenestra vestibuli, closed by footplate of stapes. Promontory is caused by basal turn of cochlea, and round window is closed by the secondary tympanic membrane. Apart from that, there are some other things like sinus tympani, which is just a depression behind the promontory. There is processus cochleoformis. I'll talk about processus cochleoformis. What is processus cochleoformis? Okay. Now, this diagram was very easy for us. This is the lateral side, this is the medial side. It was very easily explaining to us what is lying superiorly, tegmen tympani, inferiorly, thin plate of bone separating from internal jugular vein, laterally, tympanic membrane, medially, promontory, oval window, round window. Now, to explain the anterior and posterior wall, I will have to draw another diagram. I will have to draw another diagram where there will be anterior and posterior and superior and inferior. So when we look from in that view, they say the middle ear, looks like a pistol. Middle ear looks like a pistol. A double barreled pistol. It looks like a double barrel pistol. Now this is anterior, this is posterior, this is roof formed by tegmen tympani, and this is floor. This diagram is more like a sagittal section. Exactly not sagittal, slightly it will be, but more like a sagittal. And this is more like a coronal section where lateral, medial, superior, inferior. So whenever we take a coronal section, there is lateral, medial, but exactly coronal nahi, thoda sa it is slightly slanted. And this is sagittal. Again, not purely sagittal, slightly inclined. So anterior, posterior, roof, floor. So what is there in the anterior wall? So again, my formula A, B, C. So what is ABC? This first is canal for tensor tympani. Canal for tensor tympani. So the tensor tympani muscle takes its origin from this canal and goes attached to the handle of malleus. What is this second structure? I have shown arrows both sides. This is the auditory tube. Auditory tube. And what is this third structure? It is a thin plate of bone which separates the middle ear. It's a bone which separates the middle ear from internal carotid artery. So again, for the anterior wall, we have A, B, and C. Canal for tensor tympani, auditory tube. Canal for tensor tympani, auditory tube, and a thin plate of bone separating it from internal carotid artery. Now, let us talk about the posterior wall. So posterior wall, what is this behind? This is mastoid actually. Okay. So basically here somewhere will be external auditory canal, which will be opening. Here will be tympanic membrane, and behind this is the middle. And then beyond here will be promontory. So promontory will be here. The so medial wall can be seen here. The oval window will be here, the round window here. So this is the posterior part. So this is the mastoid antrum. Inside the mastoid, this is mastoid antrum, and this part not so big. This part where mastoid antrum is opening into the middle ear is called as auditus. Is called as the auditus of mastoid antrum. So that is for posterior wall. Our A will be auditus for mastoid. Auditus for mastoid. Our B will be the posterior canaliculus for chorda tympani. Okay. And our C will be a structure called as pyramid. I will show it to you in another diagram, a structure called pyramid, from where the stapedius muscle comes. That means from the anterior wall, tensor tympani muscle is coming from the walls of the canal for tensor tympani. And stapedius is coming from pyramid. So now we will again go to the diagram of the middle. You'll again go to the diagram for the medial wall where there is promontory, oval window, round window, and then here is somewhere will be the auditus for the mastoid antrum, and here like this is pyramid, and from this pyramid comes the stapedius muscle inside and gets attached to stapes. Now stapes is like this, covering the oval window, and this is the stapedius muscle. The nerve to stapedius, all of us know, comes from the facial nerve. So if that is damaged, the stapes cannot dampen the external sounds and we get hyperacusis. Okay. So this green thing, what I have drawn is stapedius muscle, and this blue thing is pyramid. Now there is one more thing that is passing along the posterior wall, and that is the facial canal through which the facial nerve is passing. Okay. So posterior wall, we said three things: auditus for mastoid antrum, so which will be somewhere here like this, pyramid, and posterior canaliculus for the, which is seen in this view. This is the lateral part. Anterior canaliculus is here, posterior canaliculus is here. So this posterior canaliculus we count in the posterior wall. So posterior canaliculus for chorda tympani, auditus for mastoid antrum, okay, and the pyramid and the pyramid. So these are the three things which so these are the three things which form the posterior wall. Okay. Now middle ear is not complete without enlisting its contents. Okay. So of course I am yet to talk about the arterial supply. So main content of the middle ear is the 3 ear ossicles. Okay, malleus. So now we are listing the contents of the middle ear. 3 ear ossicle: malleus, then incus, and stapes. Then there are ligaments and joints. Between malleus and incus, there is a saddle joint. The incus and stapedius, there is stapes, there is a ball and socket joint. Then there are ligaments. Then there are two muscles: tensor tympani and stapedius. Then there are the blood vessels. Then there are nerves. What nerves are there? Two nerves: chorda tympani and tympanic plexus. So these are the contents of the middle ear. The contents of the middle ear are 3 ear ossicles, the ligaments, two muscles, tensor tympani and stapedius. There are blood vessels and nerves. What nerves are there? Chorda tympani and tympanic plexus. So grossly, the tympanic membrane is like this, and then the medial wall, there is this oval window, promontory, round window. So the malleus is like this. Sorry, it has gone beyond this. But the roof is also like this. The malleus is like this. Then the incus is somewhat like this, and the steps is like this. So this is saddle joint, and here is a ball and socket type of a. Hmm. Now coming to the last part of our today's topic, and that is about the blood supply. Now, blood supply is again anterior tympanic branch of maxillary artery. Now, this is why we had taught the branches of maxillary, and it is posterior tympanic branch of the stylomastoid branch of the posterior auricular artery. There are many other small arteries like superior tympanic branch of middle meningeal and ascending pharyngeal, tympanic branch of the artery of pterygoid canal, and all. Need not right now concentrate on this. The venous drainage is into superior petrosal sinus. Venous drainage into superior petrosal sinus and pterygoid plexus. Okay. The nerve supply, all of us know tympanic plexus. Tympanic plexus is the main nerve supply. There are many other carotid or tympanic nerves coming from the plexus around the internal carotid artery. Now, main part about the applied anatomy of middle ear is that we saw that this is how the middle ear was, and this is the auditory tube which opens into pharynx, and this is middle ear. So therefore, the infection from the pharynx via auditory tube can go into middle ear. Okay, it can also reach the middle ear when there is a rupture of tympanic membrane. Now, whenever this infection happens, this infection is called as otitis media. Infection of middle ear is called as otitis media. So this otitis media can rupture the tympanic membrane and go to external ear. It can go to the roof and cause meningitis. It can go to the floor and cause internal jugular vein thrombosis. It can go to the mastoid backwards and cause the mastoid abscess. So importance of knowing anatomy, and then we know how it spread. It can cause mastoid abscess, it can go up in the roof, cause meningitis, go down. Here is internal jugular vein and cause internal jugular vein thrombosis. And the second applied anatomy part is whenever the roof is fractured, that I have already explained to you. Roof is fractured, blood comes and then breaks through the tympanic membrane because of pressure, and there is bleeding through the external ear. So these are the two applied anatomy. One, otitis media. Two, fracture in the floor of the middle cranial fossa, which fractures the roof of the middle ear. And from there, the blood, if there is a bleeding of any artery, the blood comes down from the roof, that is from the middle cranial fossa and then to the external ear. So these are the two important applied anatomies, otitis media and fracture in the floor of the middle cranial fossa, which is formed by the roof of the middle ear.